run a bit. Okay. Hello, Nicole. Thank you for joining us. We'll just introduce ourselves briefly. We're Graham and Annette Henry, Henry and Henry. Some people may not know that already. So we're going to talk to you about your story. We know it's really interesting. It's particularly exciting for each of us for slightly different reasons. I know that you're a teacher, and I used to be a teacher too. So this is the interesting part for me. So you have a health-related story. Can you tell us a bit about it, how it started, and what steps you took and how long it took for you to take those steps?
I can. Hello, Graham. Hello, Annette. Yes, I'm Nicole, and it started in 2015, really properly. Before that, I was gradually, in my 40s, I was gradually starting to experience some health issues. I was gradually beginning to get a little bit concerned. I wasn't ill. I was generally well. I used to swim. I was physically active. I used to cycle to work every day. I walked my dog, but there were just some niggles that I wasn't comfortable with. I started to get a lot of migraines. My weight was gradually creeping up, and there were some other things I was uncomfortable with. And around this time, I also started getting this brain fog, and I just couldn't think clearly, and I kept being really fuzzy, and it was really, really unpleasant. At the same time, a friend of ours who I considered him a friend, but he wasn't somebody we were really close with. We had an opportunity to have lunch with him and his family. He was a plant-based eater, and that lunch changed my life, really. It really helped me to understand the power of a friend. And I think within plant-based lifestyles, that's super important. They made us a lunch, and we sat down, and everything was plant-based. And it was just really enjoyable and really lovely. There was salads, and there was hummus, and all sorts of just lovely, lovely things. And I realized during that meal that I did not miss the meats, the dairy, the super processed foods, etc. I'd always been a healthy eater in terms of eating fruits and vegetables, and that was always part of the meal, but all the other things were a part of it as well. And during this meal, we talked about his plant-based lifestyle. He didn't preach, but he was really happy to tell me about it. He'd mentioned also the Forks Over Knives film and the China study and how important they had been to him. I went away from that meal, and I actually gave up milk straight away. And I went to rice milk initially, and later I transitioned to oat milk. But that's the only change I made at that time. The plant-based idea, however, kept niggling at the back of my head, and I kept having these migraines, and I kept having these head fogs, and I thought, surely it can't be that good. And, you know, you sort of doubt these things, skeptical as ever. Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. Well, maybe, no. And this carried on till about 2017. And at that stage, I thought, right, I've got to do this. And I don't know why, but instinctively, I knew that if I was going to do anything and make any change in my life, this was the way to go. I didn't really entertain other approaches. I can't really explain why. It was more of an intuitive thing for me. So in 2017, I started actually researching the whole food plant-based lifestyle. I started by watching the Forks Over Knives film, and then I gradually went across to looking into other things. I looked into Rip Esselstyn. He was on the Forks Over Knives film, and he was, of course, very, very lovely. And I was really interested in some things he says. He brings his message across, conveys it in such a way, I think that really speaks to people. And I started off actually looking at some of his recipes, some of his videos, some of his ways of doing things. And gradually over that year, during 2017, I started to become more and more engrossed in the details of this lifestyle. I didn't go plant-based yet. I tried out recipes. I tried out different ways of preparing foods. And I also started watching lots of information like the food summits, the Food Revolution Summit, Chef AJ's Food Summit, and different things like that. And gradually, this became more and more of an important thing in my life. And I probably started changing in a way that I didn't even realize in terms of my food choices. But then I'd go back and eat in the way that I used to again. And it was sort of up and down, back and forth, really, for quite a while. And I started noticing the differences when I was eating this way. I was feeling much better, and then I ate another way, and it sort of went back again, regressed a little bit. And then I decided probably towards the end of 2017, right, I've got to just do this. I've got to bite the bullet. I've got to get on with it and make a change. And I'm sure this is a story that so many people will recognize, because it just reflects so many people who've gone across to the plant-based lifestyle. At the beginning of 2018, January, new start, I thought, right, I'm going to do this. I know how to cook this food now. I understand how it works. I know what I need to be eating, what I need to be cutting out, and not just moving to plants, but also going away from heavily processed foods, overconsumption of salt, oil and sugar, and all those changes. At that point, I made this change. I do apologize. At that point, I made this change and went across completely. As soon as I made that full change, things began to look better for me. My migraines gradually disappeared. The weight came off. I was never heavily overweight, but I was heavier than I felt comfortable with. That came off. My brain felt clear. I was able to think. I felt more energetic. I didn't feel tired all the time anymore. And it was just a revelation.
Can I just ask, you also said that, I remember when we spoke to you previously, you mentioned that you've been feeling very thirsty quite a lot, and you were a little bit concerned that you might be kind of progressing towards diabetes. And did you see a change in?
I did. Yes, absolutely. I did not ever pursue a medical diagnosis. I'm a bit reticent when it comes to seeking medical advice anyway. I did not pursue that at all. However, I felt within myself that this was definitely a possibility. I started to get really thirsty. Obviously, there was the weight retention. There was having to wake up at night, use the bathroom, and just things that were not right. And I knew what the signs of diabetes were and where that was going. And I felt, okay, I know where this is going, not necessarily imminently, but eventually. Did not like that, didn't want it to go that way. So then I made the decision that I was going to make a change with that. So again, that's all sorted, that's all gone, and that's completely now a thing of the past, really. So I'm really, really pleased with that. Yeah, really good.
Can I just ask as well, that you mentioned about the, obviously you were on this journey and that you've just described. How did that impact on your family? Because clearly you were making all these changes. How did that fit with the lifestyle of your family as a whole?
I think because I came a little bit late to the party, so to speak, and my children were all teenagers or coming towards the teenage years, I sort of missed the boat a little bit with that. So the older children have not decided to adopt that plant-based lifestyle. They're happy to eat the plant-based foods when I cook them in the home. However, they do not eat them themselves. If they choose to cook themselves or do their own foods, then that's up to them. My youngest daughter is more enthusiastic about the plant-based lifestyle. She does live a vegetarian lifestyle, but she is not exclusively plant-based, and that's fine. That's up to her. I don't think we can force our children in any way, shape, or form. I also think that they have an advantage over me, that if they ever later on in their life feel that they need to adopt this lifestyle because they are starting to feel unwell or get symptoms of lifestyle conditions, you know, diabetes, heart issues, migraines, whatever it is, they already know that this is an option and that this is a good thing that's available for them. Whereas for me, I had to find this out. The friend who first mentioned this lifestyle to me and first talked to me about it actually sadly passed away about 6 months after this, of something completely unrelated. It wasn't a related condition to the plant-based lifestyle. And therefore, after this, I had to find out everything myself. And it's quite difficult to find out on the internet, because there are so many conflicting pieces of information, conflicting voices. It's difficult. It took me, like I say, a good year really to research when I really got into it, before I had a full understanding of what's what. So I think they're a step ahead of me. So I'm not going to be worried about it.
Can I ask as well what sort of reception you got from colleagues in the staff room? I remember when I stopped having dairy, I became quite a curiosity, and because I resolved something through nutrition as well, and they were very interested, but clearly it was a really new phenomenon. So I just wondered how it was for you a few years later than me.
Yes, it's been very mixed. A lot of people were able to see the change in me and how much better I felt within myself, and they could see I looked better. A lot of people said things like, "You look like you're 10 years younger." I'm sure I didn't look that old before, but you know, and I looked better and I felt better in myself. So I think at worst, I can see that this works for you. I might not agree with it. It's not maybe something I want to do, but I can see that it works for you. That's great. And at best I got, "Wow, tell me more about this." And that's a really nice change. And I think, again, it's this power of a friend of mine currently who was also experiencing some health challenges, has recently made that decision to go plant-based and try this out himself. And he's really benefiting from that. And I have some other friends also who sort of have shared this journey with me, in the sense that they were on the same path at the same time, but we didn't really realize it about each other until we went to a social event together where there was food, noticed each other's food choices or approaches, got talking. And then since then, we have also shared this journey. And it's really exciting when you start to understand that people are around you that make these decisions, these really positive decisions about their futures. You don't really necessarily always know about each other until you have a reason to connect about it.
That's really interesting, because I think that we've come across that as well, that sometimes we've gone on a particular in a particular direction, and we've found that that things are happening alongside that we almost feel like, is it through our influence, or have we been part of some, like, you know, are we on some wavelength that, you know, is sharing that journey? It's kind of like synchronicity, I think is one of the phrases to describe it. But you also found a group that was quite that gave you quite a lot of support, didn't it, in terms of you finding a group that was able to, that spoke the same language. Do you want to talk about that? I'm obviously talking about the plant-based health professionals.
Yes, absolutely. That finding the plant-based health professionals UK has been an absolute revelation. I was initially looking, because a lot of the information that I accessed and a lot of the people I learned from and started listening to the summits presented by them, they were based in the United States or Canada. And I wasn't really noticing any exposure at that point from the UK. And I live in the UK, and I felt it was important to have human connection with other people who had these lifestyles and share experiences with them. And I started searching the internet, and after some time, and it wasn't very easy, and I think plant-based health professionals has had a lot more exposure since then. It wasn't that easy. I came upon the plant-based health professionals. Initially, I was a little bit hesitant, because it's a health professional organization, I thought. And I thought, well, I'm not a health professional. Is this for me? I searched into it a little bit more. I noticed that they were holding a plant-based expo. This was in probably about a year and a half ago, or nearly 2 years ago, in London. And I thought, well, I'll go check it out. We'll go down. My daughter and I went down. We had a lovely, lovely weekend going around all the stalls, learning about everything that's available, talks, seminars. It was brilliant. And after that, I joined the organization as a member that's not a medical professional, sort of a member of the public. And it's been wonderful because I discovered that this organization isn't just for health professionals, it's for anybody who is interested in plant-based living as a lifestyle. Predominantly health professionals, but there are also other people, such as people who are educators, such as ourselves. I would say all three of us are within that bracket. People who work within the media, lots of different people who all have this common goal of living a plant-based lifestyle and of sharing that with other people. And I joined it. I joined the Facebook group where everybody within the organization is able to communicate with each other. And since joining that, lots of wonderful things have happened that have just added further magic really to this plant-based journey. It's been and
that's also how this interview came about, because we connected through a conversation on there, and you know, I think it just is testament really to how connected that group is, and in terms of the advocacy about a plant-based diet, I think we all agree they're doing such a fantastic job to get that out there at a time where the tide is definitely turning. And yeah, so it's so nice to meet others who found the same as we have. So thanks for explaining that.
It is. If I can just say something else about that, Graham, just about how, you know, how much has happened because of being a part of that group. I was able, because of that group, to find the nutrition course that they run with the University of Winchester, which I know you are also very, very keen on. I did that course. That was so informative, because I already knew about the plant-based lifestyle at this point, but that course helped me to learn the fundamentals and the science behind it. And I'm an English literature teacher, so that side of the plant-based lifestyle wasn't something that was my forte. It was really interesting. By now, I have probably forgotten a lot of the names of the processes and the nutrients and all these different things, but the principles have remained with me, and I understand a little bit of the science and the processes behind it. So that's been really wonderful. I've managed to make contact with yourselves and with some other people, including other plant-based teachers. And I also found a plant-based life coach, Miriam Maisel, who really helped me with a number of projects that I wanted to embark on as well. So really, it has been a really great resource.
Can I? Oh gosh, I just, when you were talking about having done the course, I wondered if studying that gave you some insights as to why you got better. What was it about the diet that helped you got better? Have you any kind of clues about that?
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the big differences is that it sorted out the sugar levels in my body, because of course when we consume ready sugar, we get these spikes and, you know, these highs and lows and so on and so forth, and the body tries to negotiate that all the time. Whereas when we eat the whole foods, the sugars that we consume are part of the food and form a healthy element in that food. So I think that made a massive difference. And one of the ways I noticed that very quickly is because sugar cravings went away, which I had previously. So I think that made a big difference. And in terms of the weight, it was probably the reduction of oil in the diet.
And also,
processed oils.
Processed
oil, oils within foods, avocados, nuts, seeds, etc. But the processed oils came by and large out of the diet.
And it's probably fair to say that you were cutting down a lot on your saturated fat intake once you'd moved towards a plant-based diet, which we know is implicated often in one of the causes of insulin resistance. So, wow, that's really great to hear. And you've been inspired as a result of your journey to do something, haven't you?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about your project?
I would love to talk about my project. So as a teacher, and I know, Annette, you echo this experience, as a teacher, I became, as I was undertaking this plant-based journey, I became aware of the fact that my students, and I teach in a secondary school, 11 through to 18, often were completely unaware of what eating healthily means. It's not just that they were eating a lot of processed foods, mainly stuff that comes in a package, and that's either very salty or very fatty or very sweet, and doesn't look anything like an original food, but also that they genuinely did not know what healthy meals are, what healthy food is. And interestingly, their parents also didn't know. And, you have a chat with them before or at the beginning of a lesson or during a break duty or whatever. And also in my job, I may see them while they're having their lunch and so on. And they just did not know. And they say, oh, I've got a really healthy lunch. It's chicken and cheese with a bit of salad. And the parents also didn't know. I'm making sure I'm drinking plenty of milk, and these sorts of very well-willing ideas, but they just weren't informed. And I realized that my lack of knowledge in the past wasn't unique, and that young people are willing to eat healthily. They're willing to look after their bodies and do what's to their benefit, but they just don't know. Of course, in the classroom, it's not my remit within my role to preach at them, you should be eating this, you should be eating this, you should be eating this. Although I may, there may be a discussion, I may mention things, that's not my role. But I did feel troubled by it, I guess, for a while. Then COVID came, and I hesitate to say this while you're recording because it's so cheesy. But I woke up one morning about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was probably about February, March time. And I knew I had to write a book. And everything that was going to go in it was in my head. And I knew exactly what it was. And I picked a piece of paper while I was in my bed. I picked up a pen. It's a green pen. I still have the document. And I just literally wrote everything down. I knew this has got to be a book for teens. And it has to give them information about how to live plant-based. It has to have support there about how to do things in a kitchen. Some of them, they don't even eat ever fresh vegetables. They don't know what a fresh vegetable is. When you say to them courgette or something, they say what? And it has to have recipes in it, and it has to be stuff they want to eat and they'll enjoy, and that fits their life. It has to be easy. And it was just all there. And it was a really strange experience. You talked about synchronicity earlier. I hadn't really made it up, I don't think. It was just there. So I wrote it all down, and I was quite happy with the theory side of things because I know how to use the internet. I had access to all the information from the Winchester course. Of course, I know how to write in proper English. I do a lot of writing myself. I write quite a lot of poetry, and it was, that bit wasn't difficult, but I was concerned about the recipe side of things because I'm not used to, apart from my own children, and they are used to my way of doing things. I'm not used to, how other people's teenagers eat, what they will eat, what their relationship with food is, and so on. And I didn't feel qualified to do that. The way things come together, it can often be quite wonderful. Right at this time, there was a webinar hosted by the plant-based health professionals, and 3 speakers who were all in education spoke during this webinar. And one of them was an educator in the south of the UK called Joseph Davies, who is a food science teacher. And in his capacity, he teaches teenagers in a secondary school about eating wholesome foods. And he teaches them how to prepare vegetables, how to prepare fruits, how to make nice meals out of them, and how to do lots of lovely plant-based things. And his school's really supportive and completely on board with this. And he was talking about this experience, and I thought, wow, I need to work with this guy. He's also a very engaging speaker. I thought, I need him on board because he can do the bit that I can't do. So I got in touch with the plant-based health professional organization, see if I could get his contact. And they were quite happy to put me in touch with him, which we did. And we got talking, and he was on board as well. And he is currently working on the recipe section, and we are collaborating and creating this book together, and it's really, really exciting. We're very excited about it. We had a meeting also yesterday with a publisher who also in principle is excited about it, about the idea. Of course, there's lots of work to do, but hopefully this is going to be a volume that's going to target the younger people so that they can get a head start and get on this plant-based wagon a lot earlier, and they can avoid a lot of the things that us as older people have had to experience because we didn't come to it in our younger years. So yes, I'm very, very excited. It's buzzing in my head when I go to sleep, and when I wake up in the morning, it's wonderful.
Please keep us informed about the progress, because we'll certainly want to make people aware of it when it is published. And I'm just amazed. I mean, you're a teacher. How do you find time to do all this?
I know it's busy. It is busy, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm quite a methodical person, and I'll sort of set my times and make my list and do things. And lockdown did help in the sense that there wasn't the travel to work and the travel home, and there were no social engagement, and the children's sports stopped, and so many things stopped that it did allow me a window of time for a while to do things I might otherwise not have had time to do. And I also did a lot during summer holidays. Yes, but don't ever let it be said, Annette, you're with me here, that teachers don't work hard.
Oh, I know about it. Of course I do, yes. And eventually I was part-time, and still I could see how you don't really have time for other things.
Yeah. Yes, the pressures are insane. So
one of the things you mentioned as well, I think when we first got in contact, was you've had a little bit of success closer to home with a certain teenager, haven't you? In terms of you mentioned your daughter and her daughter's boyfriend.
Oh yes, that was lovely. So he's a meat eater, but he's been really, really willing to embrace when he comes to the home the way we eat, and it's just so nice to see his openness. He's never said, well, I'm not eating that, or what's that? Ooh. And the other day he did say, well, I never thought I'd like tofu this much. That was just a lovely little moment. And I'm also trialing a lot of Joseph's recipes to make sure, as he is writing them down for the book, to make sure they work. For example, the other day there was I think it was lemon wedges or something in the ingredients, and they didn't appear again in the recipe. You know, when you write things down and you might leave something out because it's so logical and you've done it 100 times. So I'm trial running them. And my daughter and her boyfriend trialed his wet ramen the other day, and I took some photos because they were cooking together, and it was just lovely to see them together engaging in the way that we would like young people to do with this lovely wholesome food. It was really nice.
That's a really nice story. I think that's a really nice note to end on.
I think it is. Yeah, I mean, unless you've got anything you would want to say to anybody who's in the same sort of situation that you were in, and realize, because it took you quite a long time, as it did me. I was a very slow process, but a slow burn, really. Have you got any advice for anybody who thinks that going plant-based might just help? Is there anything that you would advise them to do now that you've got the hindsight?
Yes, definitely. In one sentence, do it. I think absolutely. But if it's a slightly longer answer, I think, don't try and do this all on your own. There are so many people out there who will do this with you. If it's not at home, then it's on the internet. Connect. Go to groups like plant-based health professionals. Go look at the summits. Do all those things. Most of these things don't cost anything. It's sorry, cat. Most of these things don't cost anything, but you just feel connected, and there are so many people out there. And I found within the plant-based community, people have been so genuinely interested and kind and willing to help and be enthusiastic about other people's successes as well. And certainly for me, it's been a wonderful community. So don't do it alone.
I think your cat's just thanking you that you care about animals. So.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Your attention now, so maybe we should leave you to the cat now.
Okay, well, that was lovely to speak with you,
it really
and to hear your story, and
it's really inspiring. Look, I love it.
Yeah, and we'll share it more widely and hope that it inspires others as well. So we really do look forward to hearing more about your book project as well. So
yes, please keep us informed. We mean that.
I will do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.